So when we think about what it is that we want to achieve, and we think about the type of life that we want to create, we're often thinking long term, like in 6 months, I want to be here. 1 year, I want to be here. In 2 years, and 3 years, and 5 years. That's great. That's your big vision. But what I want to challenge you to do is really think about who you want to be in the next 90 days. I want you to think about what is one thing that you can tackle and improve upon over the next 90 days. What can you create and launch in the next 90 days? Because when you're thinking about your vision and what you want to see happen, it can be a little like, whew, that's a lot. But when you really step back and break it down into these are the tasks that I need to do, it makes it more manageable for you. By the way, I'm Dr. Jessica Houston, founder of expectingvictory.com, as well as the Elite Speakers Institute. What I really love to do is help experts, thought leaders, speakers, authors level up their confidence, their happiness, and their results so that they are positioned to begin creating the life they want. So I want you to do me a favor. Tell your past thank you. Say, you know what? Thank you. You've probably been through some things. You've probably been through some trauma, some hurt, some pain, some frustration. Listen, I've been there. But you're not telling your past thank you because it was perfect, because it was wonderful, but because of the lessons you learned. Because there are some things that you will never do again, some mistakes that you will never make again because of that lesson learned. Maybe you will begin to trust yourself more because of the lessons you've learned by listening to other people. And so I'm going to actually go there. I'm going to actually go there because I got a couple of things that I want to talk about related to manifesting the vision that you have. But again, you got to first have a vision, and then you got to know exactly what it is that you need to be doing daily. What do you need to be doing over the next 90 days? If you want to lose 10 pounds, or if you want to make an extra $1,000 a month, like what activities do you need to do to make that happen? And then you got to hold yourself accountable for it. And so the first thing is you want to give yourself permission to be you. Because a lot of times we either slow or totally stop our growth by trying to imitate other people. It is okay to have people that you look up to. I got people that I admire, but I don't want to be them because I wasn't created to be them. You got to, maybe you grew up as I did in church and in very religious environments with really rigid rules. And it caused you to not be who you are because they said, something about staying in a woman's place, or you're not supposed to do this, or you can't wear that, or you can't have a sip of wine, or whatever. I'm not encouraging you to do what you don't want to do, but I'm saying you got to be you. Like if every now and then a glass of wine helps you to unwind and feel better and be relaxed, like have a glass of wine. Okay, I'm gonna get off of that because I can really, really go into that. Like, for example, even with myself, there are still things I'm working through because of what I was taught as a kid. Like there was so much fear that I continually like, oh my goodness, oh God, forgive me. I'm sorry. I said a curse word. Oh my God, forgive me. I had a drink of wine. Oh, forgive me. Be you. Be you. I had one time some jeans I wanted to wear that had the cuts in them. I was afraid that people might say I'm worldly or I'm not a Christian because I had to get over all of that. So I got on my soapbox, but give yourself permission to be you. Show up as you. If you like to laugh, if you like to have fun, do that. Number two, you got to stop focusing on what already happened, because that's not where you're headed. Like, you don't need to be looking backwards, because you're not going that way. You're moving forward. So if it's happened, it's done. I'm not saying that you just kind of forget everything, but I am saying you got to be careful where you're putting your focus. And you really want to put your focus on the present and the future, right? You learn those lessons and you keep it moving, because often what happens is we utilize what happened in the past to make current and future decisions, and your past does not equate to your future. Just because you tried to speak 5 years ago and you feel like you made a fool of yourself, that doesn't mean that you can't be a great speaker. Because you applied for a promotion and you didn't get it, that doesn't mean that you're not qualified to get that position. And so you got to stop focusing on what already happened and start focusing on the now. What can I do now to make this thing happen? And when something is placed in your heart, you got to hold on to that thing. And you got to be like, I believe it. I receive it. I'm not letting this go until I get it. And you got to start believing in the impossible. Like, I realized, like, I used to always just live from my senses and from the past, and oh, this is no. I don't operate that way anymore, because I believe that I'm supposed to live in abundance. I believe that I'm supposed to live a good life. I believe that I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be fulfilled. And there is nothing selfish about wanting more than enough. There is nothing selfish about not wanting to struggle. And so I'm not focusing on the past, that I struggled in the past financially, that I struggled in the past with self-confidence, that I struggled in the past with being in unhealthy relationships. Like, no, this is a new day. This is a new me. And I'm continually growing. And so I want you to focus on the now and what you want to create in the future. And then you got to also remember that growth is never uncomfortable. So that's number 3. Growth is never comfortable. Did I say uncomfortable? It's always uncomfortable. Growth is never comfortable, right? You are going to experience some discomfort, and you've got to just be willing to deal with those growing pains. You got to be willing to stretch yourself. Like, I don't want you in la la land thinking, I remember when I first started learning about law of attraction, this was like years ago. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do this vision board, which I've done one, but I understand that you got to put some action behind that thought. And I was like, okay, I can just write myself a check for 200,000 and then it's going to pop up. No. And I did write myself a big check. So you got to do the work. You got to feel the discomfort. You've got to reprogram your mind. You got to create a new identity. You've got to say, you know what? I'm nervous about this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't want to make a fool of myself, but I'm going to go on and put this post out there. I'm going to go on and put this video out there. I'm going to start writing my book. I'm going to ask someone, can I speak at their conference? Like, you got to begin to stretch yourself and become that person that you say you desire to be. Like, there is no getting from here to there being the same person, doing the same things, having the same habits. You got to create a new routine. You got to overcome being who you are and be willing to release that person for a better version of you. And then number 4, before I get too long-winded, number 4, going back to what I talked about in the beginning about giving yourself permission to be you, it's so important that you do not fall into people pleasing. Like, that's a whole nother training in itself, but be careful who you allow in your ear. Be careful who you allow to impact your decisions and impact how you feel. Because there are some people who can make you feel really bad about who you are when they low-key want to be you. Ooh. They make you like, oh, you do that, you doing too much. Oh, why are you always out there? Why are you bragging on yourself? Why are you trying to? Or you may have a big goal, a big vision, and you might be excited and showing them some things that you want to accomplish, that you want to achieve, or the path that you want to take. And they are trying to talk you out of it. Like, that's too big, that's too much money. Or why would you invest in the coach? Or why would you invest in going to this conference? Oh, you're going to buy a flight to go? Yes, I've done all of that. And I must say that there have been times when I missed a major breakthrough because I allowed someone else to put their fear on me. They were like, oh no, this is not a good time because you just did this, and oh, you should invest in that right now. And then the next year when I went to invest, the rate had more than doubled. And I was like, wow, I wish I would have just done it when I said I wanted to do it. So you got to be willing to trust yourself and just be careful who you allow in your ear. So quick recap, because I try not to go too long, but just got to do what I got to do. When it's something I got to get out and get into those of you who come to be filled, then I just got to release it. So first thing, again, you got to give yourself permission to be you. Number 2, you got to stop focusing on what has already happened. Number 3, you got to remember that growth is never comfortable. And number 4, be careful who you allow into your ear. May you have a phenomenal week. May miracles find you. Until next time, take care.